Okay, so this is one that a lot of people have been asking for, and it's how to do the stroke text effect in my Motion Squared intro. And actually this is very simple. It will take 2 minutes to show you the technique, and hopefully that will answer your questions. Okay, so you can see that I've recreated the effect with one single letter here. I chose a more complex letter just to illustrate this. If you can do it with the R, you will be able to do this with any of the other letters. Okay, so I'm just going to reset this scene. To start with, just a text layer. I'm going to type out R, and that's it. One thing to note with this technique is that it will work better when you have smaller letters, or when you're looking at them from a distance. You will see what I'm talking about later as we go through this. But okay, when we have the letter, we can create a new solid, and I'm gonna hide this for a moment because I want to see the letter below it. I want to go to the mask pen tool, and here I just want to draw on top of my letter, and I'm tracing the shape of the letter like this, just following the shape as closely as I can. And on the R, I have to split this into two parts because the idea is you want to only go over each part of the letter once, so you don't want to be doubling back on yourself, you know, to maybe go down here and then finish off the whole letter. So instead of doing that, you would just create a second spline to go here like this. Bring back this layer, and I will make this into an adjustment layer so we can see what's happening below. Then I want to go to Effect, Generate, and Stroke, and this is on the layer with the masks. If I solo this, you can see that this is now drawing a mask or a stroke effect based on the trace we did. Okay, the brush size, this needs to be something that's wide enough to contain the letter underneath. So in this case, if I bump this up, I'm also going to increase the brush hardness to 100, and I can see this corner is still kind of there, so I need to just make sure that this is covered completely, and not any more than necessary. So about here is fine in this case, and you can see that it's only drawing the first mask and not the second one. We just need to tick all masks, and then both of them will be drawn on correctly. Next, I'm just gonna animate the growth of this mask, so this end growth control. If I go to about 2 seconds in my timeline, I will set the end keyframe at 100%, go back to the start and set this to 0, and this is the result. So if I solo this, you can see this is just going to get drawn onto our path. And because this sequential button is ticked, it means that it will do the first mask and then the second one. You can also untick this so that both are done at the same time, and that might be a better effect, or you might prefer this instead of the fully sequential version. It's up to you. Okay, at this point you then just go back to your original letter and set its track matte mode to be Luma matte, and look at the layer above, and this is the result. It's going to appear as if your letter is being drawn onto the screen. Now this is what I was talking about before, where this will look better from a distance, because if you look, for example, here, I can clearly see this little section coming out of the first part of the letter, and you know, it sticks out and it's not supposed to be there. But if you were to sort of dial back the brush size, other parts of the letter would start to deteriorate. So like the corner here is now rounded instead of pointy like this. So you'll have to find a balance in between, or you can do what I did and just sort of look at this from much further out. So in the original example, I was dealing with some really small letters, and I need to parent the top layer to the lower one before I change the scale, so that both of them scale at the same time. And from a distance, you're not going to see any problems at all. Also, if you want to reverse the effect, instead of animating the end growth, you would just animate the start, and you would start at 100% and just go back to 0, and it's the same thing backwards. So in essence, that is it. That is how you create the animated stroke text effect. In the original Motion Squared intro, obviously I did this for every single letter. You know, if this is something you want to repeat over and over, then you would have to trace every single letter and then maybe use those as assets for spelling out certain words in the future. I only did it once, and I've never really used the effect elsewhere, so I haven't done that. And I used the R as an example just because it's, you know, way to do that in sort of 2 parts. Most letters will be much simpler than this, especially letters with no curves, or letters where it's just one mask like an I or an S. It will be much easier. But anyway, that's it. I hope you found this helpful, and I will see you in the next video.